Hey everybody, Paddy here. Now thank you so much for watching and listening to TFN, the effing news. It's the antidote that we need today, this week, this year. Positive news with solutions and heroes for all of us. Now here is what is coming up on this show. First up, our brainy Kiwi has written a book that is a rare shot of positivity and encouragement. The message is you can buy your first home. Our good Kiwi was paralysed in a motorbike accident, but she refused to give up on walking again. We'll hear her story soon. And how good is David Seymour's plan to take the axe to our bloated set of ministers? Real good. Now, it's time to get into it. Time to meet our brainy Kiwi. Okay, our brainy Kiwi today is Derek Handley. He's an award-winning entrepreneur who's got his fingers in a million pies, has started and sold more companies than you've had hot dinners, and his new company is all about getting first home buyers into buying homes. His big news, it is possible. Derek, welcome to the effing news. For people out there, first home buyers, what is the fastest way to their own home?
The fastest way is firstly to believing that it can be done, which is really important, and it's a message that is not what they normally hear. The second thing that's most important is that they buy a brand new home, because it halves, or more than halves, the time it takes you to get that home, because you only need a 10% deposit.
Right. These are two great things for us to start with. Let's start with the belief, and then we'll come to the practicality of this. You are saying to me that people need to believe that they can buy their first home, that they've lost that belief out there. Do you think that that Kiwi dream is over?
Yeah, no, I think the belief
the Kiwi dream is over.
And when I started this whole journey, I did too. I thought this is really structurally broken. There's some real issues, and there are. But the main thing was that people just didn't believe they could, and they needed the bank of mum and dad to make it happen. And the more time I spent in this space, which I was triggered because of the crisis and COVID, I started unpeeling all the layers. Why does this narrative exist? Why do people always talk about 20%? Why don't they know about all these things that I found out? When I found them all out, I was like, hang on. If you're the average couple, you're like 30-something, you have the average Kiwi save, and you're in the average wage of $33 an hour, there is a way I could get you into a first home in a year. And that's what this book is about. And so there's something in there that has to reject the narrative that we've been telling each other. And there is a reason why that narrative keeps getting told.
Yeah, okay. It's the affordability crisis is what we're talking about here. People see all of this, and they know that this is out there, and they've lost that belief.
Yeah, and the house prices do go up, which is true. They've gone up for 7% a year for the last 50 years, maybe a little bit less now. But the main thing is people constantly talk in the media about a 20% deposit for an average home. Average home has been about $1 million. 20% deposit is 200 grand. People give up. But actually, you can buy a brand new home, 650 grand for a 10% deposit, that's 65 grand. Then people's mindset changes.
Let's unpack that. So you're saying the average couple on the average wage with the average Kiwi saver can buy a home within a year.
Yeah.
They don't have access to the bank of mum and dad also. So can we add that to the picture?
Yes, they don't have access to bank of mum and dad. If they're 30-something, the average Kiwi saver is around 22 each, so they've got 44. The average wage is about 68, 69. If they add that up, if they're a working couple, they've got well over 100 in earnings. That's enough to buy a brand new home in almost anywhere in New Zealand. Now, it might not be the one you'd imagine and the one you'd pictured, you know, with the lots of garden and fences and, you know, swimming pools, but it's the thing that'll get you into the market, which everyone, you know, knows is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Get in now as well. That's part of your...
Yeah, you've got to get in as early as you can, because unless the entire nature of the structure of the country changes the way houses are built, made, funded, until the point where the house prices stop continuing to go up, it's just running further and further away from you. So you need to kind of come in as early as possible and be part of that wave so that your equity grows while the market is growing. You know, and that doesn't solve the actual issue that we're talking about. We're trying to use the system as it is to hack it and game it to ensure that as many Kiwis as possible can get into a home.
So that is your message here in this book, is that you want to hack the system, you want to game the system. And the key part of that is getting into a home now, not the home that you want, not your ideal home. Get that later on. That's one of the messages of this book.
First home, not a forever home. And once people start to realize that and make the trade-off and think, well, I could keep believing that I'll never get the home I dream of, or I can make the decision now and buy an entry home or start a home, at least I'm in the game.
Sure. And a key thing here is the 20%, 10% deposit part of this. Those are rules set by the Reserve Bank. Just very quickly explain those.
Yeah, so when I started this whole adventure, I also thought you must have 20%, and there was no way around it. And there's a little bit of lending the banks could do for special cases for under that. But actually, there's an exemption that if you are going to buy a brand new house, then you need far less, and the banks can give you mostly with 10%. The reason they've done that is because it encourages new stock and new building, which helps alleviate the problem. But a lot of the commentators, media people, the Real Estate Association and Institute, they constantly, even till today, talk about needing 20%. That's great. That's fantastic for those who can have it. But it means that plenty of people give up, and all those who could get 10% think they need to get another 10, which might take them 5 or 7 years. House price could be up 50 or 60% by then, and then you kind of get this doom cycle, this loop where like, I thought I was there, and now it's moved again.
Sure. And Derek, for people who don't know your background, you are a very brainy Kiwi, okay? So, what is your background that, the kind of things that you've done? You've started more companies than I can count. You're a startup king. You're a tech legend. You're a guru. All of these terms. How would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as someone who finds problems that need fixing in a way that hasn't been thought of before. And for the last 15 years, those have always been problems either around society or the environment, right? So as you said, I've started multiple companies. I've invested in lots of companies tackling climate change. The first company I started didn't have necessarily a social mission. It was focused on how do you move from the PC world to the mobile world. But one of the other things I'm really good at is figuring out what trends are like and how you can change something in a system. And that's what this is about. It's about looking at the system and figuring out how you navigate it to win. And part of it's a mindset, and it's part of it's knowing like what those hacks are.
Yeah, and it's important to note that you've got a company that, can help do this era. You're wearing a bit of era kit today, just in case people didn't pick up. So you're going to, you've got to make a business out of this as well.
I've committed to this because I thought it was a problem that no one was looking at in a fresh way. And often the best way I've found that people can solve problems is by starting a company. So create something that actually gets the solution that somebody wants using the market, right, that actually already exists. And so that's all we do is exist to just help people get into their first home as fast as they can.
So it's a company that people can come to and use these hacks.
Yeah, and we help everything from the beginning to the end, from saving all the way through to actually finding these homes that come under this kind of 10% exemption.
And there's a few, harsh calls. The word avocado on toast isn't mentioned in here, because that's very triggering for first home buyers. But you do talk about living below your means and lifestyle creep, which is, code for getting rid of the avocado on toast.
Well, it's also code for not buying the car on finance, which is what most people who've given up. They think, the house is years away, because we have thousands of people in the community now, so we have a huge number of data points. Someone gives up, they think it's too far away. The first thing they'll do is buy a near or brand new car on finance, which is the fastest way to go backwards because you're buying something that's depreciating and you're borrowing for it. So the avocado and toast stuff is all around the fringes. It's some of these bigger things, which it's like those things are like landmines for the first home dream.
Sure. So get rid of the landmines, concentrate on believe in the possible of doing this, and look to get a new build, and you're on your way. So your message, Derek Handley, to Kiwis out there who think they can't get a first home is what?
They almost certainly can, right? If there's two average people in their late 20s, early 30s, almost always we'll be able to find them a way if they want to. If their mindset is committed and they are like fully all in, there is a way.
And they don't need to be a couple, they can share.
You could share, because it doesn't need to be an actual, married couple or something, but you can buy with a friend or any other way. But there's almost always a way to find yourself into a first home in the next few years.
All right, that's a good way to end it. Thank you very much. Derek Handley, author of The Fastest Way to Your First Home.
Thanks, Paddy.
Okay, so Derek's book is out in all good bookshops now and is a good one for parents to buy their kids or kids to buy themselves. Righto, our good Kiwi today is a woman who will never give up. Now, our good Kiwi is a case study in never giving up. For her, that means when she had a motocross accident and was told she'd never walk again, she basically said, well, let's ask her what she said. Casey Brady, welcome to the Effin News. Casey, I wanted to talk to you about positivity.
Yeah.
Because you've been through a lot. For starters, people will notice that you've got a wheelchair here and you're a paraplegic. Tell us a little bit about how all this has come about.
So I used to race motocross growing up. So me and my sisters raced, and yeah, we loved it. And then when I was 25, I was racing at Taupo, and I had a bad feeling about the day, to be honest. And then, yeah, in practice, I went over second lap, I went over a jump, and I landed on my neck and head kind of thing. So I, broke my back straight away, and I knew... that it was bad, pretty much. Like, I couldn't feel anything from, like, when I came around. And then, from then, pretty much everyone's told me that I'd never walk again. And,
Yeah. So you are a paraplegic, is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm paralysed from the chest down.
Yeah. And Billie is making your chest and everything upwards really work at the moment. This is great. And that means, obviously it's life in a wheelchair for you, but that hasn't stopped you from doing all sorts of stuff like becoming a mum.
Yeah, so pretty much, after my accident, everyone told me that I was never going to walk again, and I had to learn to be independent in my wheelchair. But for me, that kind of wasn't enough. I wanted more. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
I've always wanted more. So I have a goal to walk again. So I'll do everything in my power to walk again. And, on my journey, I still want to live life and have the best life I can by not missing out on things and just kind of adapting while I have to make things work.
Yeah, and with a spinal cord injury, do you want me to take Billie? We'll keep going, I reckon.
She's good.
She's nearly going to come to me, actually. Hello, Billie. Now, that has meant doing Wings for Life, Red Bull Wings for Life. Tell us about that, because that's an incredible distance that you've covered.
Yes, I was very excited to go to the Wings for Life World Run on Sunday night. And, I managed to do 7.7 Ks in an hour before I got caught by the chaser car. But it was an epic event. I think in New Zealand we had 500 people competing or taking part. And it's just like a cool vibe, and every dollar that gets raised goes to a spinal cord cure. So, it gives us hope, and, for me it's very close to my heart because obviously I want to walk again. But that event is, it's bigger than me, and it shows people that there is hope out there, and people are working really hard behind the scenes, and there's a community, that are trying to give us cure.
Yeah, that's right. And in terms of that, just before we get to the cure, a chaser car, what was that doing? Yeah,
so the chaser car starts half an hour before we start, and then it's set at a distance, and it pretty much catches you when the car catches you. That's when your run's like over. Yeah. So and it's cool because it's all done by app, so you can do it anywhere in the world. If you don't take part in like a one that's set up locally, you can do it from your phone, and it tells you, I'm coming, I'm 500 metres behind you. So it's quite cool.
And in terms of walking again, in terms of a cure for spinal cord injury, there is hope out there?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the main thing, like you've got to have a positive attitude and push yourself. And the world's, things are changing, technology's changing, there's so much research going into things. So you just got to keep going. Like, if you just sit there and you can't get anything by doing nothing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and is that what keeps you going as well? The thought of a hope, or the belief in a hope, or the very real belief?
I think it's pretty real. Like, if you want something bad enough, will get it. And if you work hard, you've got to, work extremely hard to get what you want. But I think I know like times are changing, and there's so much research coming out, and I'm following like all the latest research and doing like the right things currently. So
because you recently got into a walker, didn't you?
Yeah. So I've been walking on a walking frame, so I can do it kind of by myself now. Like, obviously I'm not walking and I can't independently go for a walk, but I can kind of stand up, pull myself up and get up and kind of go for a little walk. It doesn't look pretty, but it's this first kind of step really to getting what I want. So,
that's incredible. So you believe, Casey, that you will be able to walk again?
Yes, I do.
You truly believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where does that come from? Because a lot of people in your situation, for want of a description, would give up. Where does that kind of belief come from?
I think from the beginning, and I think it really racked me up, that no one they first just straight up tell you that you're never going to walk, and it's like the more people you tell that, people don't, not everyone's strong, and they will believe it, so no one's going to try. So that kind of makes all the data out there that no one walks after a spinal cord injury. So for me, I'm like, I have to show people that it can be possible to change like those facts.
Yeah.
And I like to prove people wrong.
Yeah. And on that, that's where a lot of your motivation comes from, which is proving people wrong. So what is your message to everybody else out there who will look at this? What is your message of positivity to other Kiwis?
I think believing in yourself, like if you believe in yourself and surround yourself with people, that have you and that will believe in you, you will get somewhere. Don't let someone tell you you can't do something, and surround yourself with those people, because you're never going to get anywhere when you're kind of in a negative situation.
Thank you very much, Casey. You're an absolute inspiration to all other New Zealanders, and I truly, truly believe in you.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for believing in me.
Yeah, thank you, Billie. That was good. And that event that Casey went in on the weekend was massive. The Red Bull Wings for Life had 300,000 people entered worldwide and raised $16 million for research to get people like Casey back on their feet. Right, now it is time for me to tell you exactly how good something is. How good is David Seymour's call to take the axe to what he calls our bloated number of MPs that are taking home an easy cheque as highly paid ministers? It is so good. There is so much waste at the top of government, and it is an insult to the ordinary hard-working Kiwi. We have 30 ministers taking in anywhere between $200,000 to $300,000 a year, getting driven around in nice taxpayer-funded limos and getting all the taxpayer-funded perks that go with it. Did you know, for instance, that we have 4 ministers and associate ministers of agriculture? We honestly only need 1 Minister of Agriculture, yet they all take home a massive paycheck paid by you. Imagine having 4 people suddenly come in and do your job, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are so many associate ministers like this. I actually gave up counting today, and there are a lot of ministers who don't even have a ministry. There's a minister for the South Island, for instance. There's a minister for Auckland, for instance. There's a minister for hospitality, hunting and fishing, the voluntary sector, even a minister for space. All that could be handled by ministers who are in charge of actual departments. For me, this is about symbolism. The government is cutting everybody else's jobs, and they can't find money for lots of things that we care about. But they can find money to look after their mates with nice, cushy jobs. It is also about leadership and plain old organisation. There is no way that having 4 agriculture ministers can actually lead to good decision making. You need 1 boss, 1 leader. And get this, officials at MB, which is the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, report to 19 different ministers. 19. What a joke. For the record, there are 20 ministers inside Cabinet, 8 outside Cabinet, and even 2 undersecretaries, whatever the hell they do. So in total, there are 30 clipping the ticket. Seymour reckons this could be down to 20, all in the Cabinet. I reckon we could get by easily with 15. But getting down to 20 would be a great start, and they should make these cuts today, Mr. Seymour and others. Here is the great irony, though. Mr. Seymour isn't able to change any of this, and he knows it. A lot of ACT Party ministers are in these ministerial jobs as well. But at least David Seymour is saying something, and I congratulate him. He says he might try and get it in the next coalition agreement. I hope he succeeds. The number of ministers highlights the problem with politics. It is all do as I say, not as I do. Politicians can be the biggest hypocrites ever. They can literally cut tens of thousands of other people's jobs, but not their own. How good would it be if our politicians actually treated themselves like they treat us? All right, that's TFN for another week. If you hear of anything or know of anything that can bring some positivity in the world of news in this country, please get in touch. Paddy@tfn.co.nz. See yous next week. Cheer.